but it's a photograph that changed American music and helped spark the civil rights movement.
With music was actually not very pleasant. I was being forced to play like postmodern music when I was in very young age.
The art can do more than reflect reality.
Reality to the whole virtual reality is a big jump.
Cult Studio is like a production house, and we're working mainly with the freelancers. And so we wanted to do these events like more occasionally. They're all friends there, I can tell. So we want freelancers to get involved with each other more, and to us more as well, because like we wanted to like build our audience based on our friends and the loved ones as well, and for the new people to meet with us, so we can create something maybe in future or maybe upcoming projects we can collaborate on something. So today Kino will be our co-host, and I will be just like making a small presentation for you. So, this is what we are. I'll leave the stage to Kino to tell about herself.
Right. Hi, I'm Kino. I'm from Taiwan, and I came for the last meetup. I thought it was a really lovely place to meet more people, and apparently a lot of musicians here today, so it's amazing. So, I'm a Taiwanese composer. I'm from more classical background and a jazz lover. And I went to Berklee College of Music to study film scoring and video game scoring. And I started doing that in New York. And 5 years ago, I moved to London. And today I will talk about a little bit of the process, but I kind of start feeling out of love of compose for like linear picture and stuff like that. So now I'm doing more passion project and writing a musical on the side, and also creating an app that's in VR sets for mixed reality. That's also have something to do with music, which I will share a little bit later in the talk.
Yeah. So this is me actually. What am I doing? As personally, I'm a photographer. I'm the founder of the Cult Studio as well. I do motion graphic designs for my ticket for 7 years already. So we're gonna start just right in, and this is our first exercise. There's some up and downs today, but this is the one part that you got 2 minutes basically. And we want you to connect with the room, the other people, whom you're sitting farthest.
Yes.
So just pair up. Don't chat between friends, because I know like there are a couple of people they already know each other. So this is a networking event, so you have to learn about other people. So the thing is like, just think about like what inspires you.
Yeah, because today originally we were thinking it's going to be like half visual people, half sound people, and we talk about how sound and visual means. Even now we seem like more musicians, but still we can talk about how in what situation that you feel the music really was necessary that moves you, either watching a film or in any case. Or,
just share. But
you got your favorite artist, and what's the last thing that you saw that really.
But you have like 2 minutes, so every 2 minutes you're gonna stop, okay? And then switch with the people. The other
ones. Speed dating.
Yeah, it's like speed dating. It's just speed sharing.
Yeah.
So,
sharing.
Okay, go guys. Thank you for that beautiful conversation. We were not expecting. Actually, I think like a lot of people clicked up already. So. So the next one is about, like, we have a story now, a photograph. I think like many of the musicians probably know the story, but I don't know. If it's boring, just tell me to shut up, and I'll cut the introduction. So I'm about to show you a photograph from 1930. I must warn you, it's deeply disturbing. But it's a photograph that changed American music and helped spark the civil rights movement. So, look at the crowd first. Look at their faces, men, women, even children gathered as if it's for a festival or a fair. But look up. What they're looking are two human beings lynched in town center of Marion, Indiana, Thomas Shipp and Abraham Smith. When local studio photographer named Lawrence Bettier captured this scene, he sold thousands of copies of this photo. Next 10 days, actually. And even people gathered to get a piece of rope that they have been hanged out. They sell this as a souvenir for a couple of weeks, right after the lynching happened. So one of the photographs found its way to a Jewish school teacher in the Bronx, Abel Mirapol, and for days he couldn't get rid of this image out of his mind, basically. And what do you do when you can't get an image out of your mind? If you're a poet, you write. And this is what Mirapol does, actually. He wrote a poem. I don't like reading poetry, but sorry. Southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves, and blood on the root.
It's a Kanye West song, right?
No.
Billie Holiday sang it, and then you sang with it.
Blood on the leaves, blood on the root,
Kanye West song.
black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the top of trees. He published the poem in a pen name, Lewis Allen. But words on page weren't enough for him. So Mirapol was also an amateur composer, and he set his poem to music. And he performed the song in New York area with his wife, Anne. The song made its way to Greenwich Village nightclub, and there it found its voice, actually, the voice of Billie Holiday. What Holiday did with Strange Fruit was revolutionary. In 1939, the protest songs weren't a part of the popular music. Jazz clubs were for entertainment, for escape. But when Holiday performed Strange Fruit, she transformed a nightclub into a place of witness. The next verse goes like this: the pastoral scene of Gallen South, the bulging eyes and twisted mouth, scent of magnolia, sweet and fresh, and the sudden smell of burning flesh. She would perform it only in the end of her sets. When the waiters stopped serving, the room would go completely dark. Everybody stood where they were. Nobody moved, except for the spotlight on her face. There was only one spotlight. And she finished. She would just walk off the stage in silence, no encore. Just the weight of that audience had her. Consider the courage this took. Remember, it was like 1939. Holiday was warned. Performing such a song would hurt her career. Radio stations banned it immediately. Audiences sometimes walked out from the club. But she kept singing it because some things she believed had to be sung and had to be sung. The genius of Strange Fruit lies in its metaphor, actually. Mirapol could have written directly about lynching. Instead, he transformed this ugliest of acts into haunting poetic image, fruit hanging from trees. The contrast between the natural world and this unnatural death, between the pastoral scene and the burning flesh, forces us to confront the horror in a way that mere statistics of direct description never could. But there is another chapter to this story. The man who wrote Strange Fruit, this song of profound empathy for the oppressed, would later demonstrate an empathy in an extraordinary personal way. In this photograph, you see Abel Mirapol with two young boys, Robert and Michael. The orphaned sons of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. The background story about the Rosenbergs: they have been speculated they are the Russian agents on the McCarthy era, and they have been speculated they sold the nuclear secrets to Russia, and they have been electrified. So these two children were their only two siblings. When these boys lost their parents to electric chair during the height of McCarthyism, it was Mirapol and his wife who adopted them, who gave them a home when others afraid to help. Here's the fruit for crows to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rot, for the tree to drop, here's a stranger and bitter problem. So one photograph, one poem, one song. That's sometimes all it takes to change consciousness. So the Time magazine would later call Strange Fruit the song of the century. But perhaps its greatest achievement is that it forces us to look, transforming the photograph of horror into art that demands we remember, and we act. From a photograph that sold for profit, to a poem that gave voice to outrage, to a song that still echoes today, Strange Fruit reminds us that art can do more than reflect reality. It can force us to confront it, to question it, and ultimately to change it. Thank you. So, our next discussion with Kino.
Yes.
How sound moves you.
Right. So, well, a lot of you here are already really familiar with how sound moves you. And my personal journey, like I said, I start from classical music, and I was in this kind of I had a tiger grandma, so she just forced me to practice many hours a day. And so my first connection with music was actually not very pleasant. I was being forced to play like postmodern music when I was in very young age. Like I don't even know what's love, what's like how sad. I mean, I was quite sad, but I don't have a lot of emotions. But I was forced to play a lot of like postmodern music that you need to go to classical, you need to go to romantic, and finally you need to learn something. But I didn't learn the emotion. I can play the notes, so I wasn't really happy. And until I found like maybe hit the puberty, you start having all those emotions kicking, and that finally makes sense. A lot of music started making sense. And then I start composing when I was like early 20s, and I kind of have the revolution at home, say I want to be a composer, I don't want to just play the instrument anymore. And that was actually quite hard because in Taiwan, where I'm growing up from, and in conservative education, a performer is a performer, a composer is a composer. And if you are choosing to be a composer, you are only choosing to be a modern composer. That means you don't compose anything tonal anymore. All you can do is atonal and beyond. Like find a new way of playing the instrument. Nothing can sound beautiful. If anything sounds beautiful, then it's shallow. And that was quite toxic. So I escaped Taiwan. I went to Berkeley in Boston, and I learned the beautiful world. Like really opens up. I learned about film scoring. I learned jazz. I'm a big fan of jazz, and I also learned about video game scoring. And at first, I wanted to be a film composer. It's because I thought there are so many genre of films out there. If I become a film composer, then I can do all kinds of music. So that was like very naive dream. Then I became a film composer. Then I realized actually I don't get to decide what I compose. People come to me and say, you do this, you do that. And they actually don't come to me normally for my creativity. They will be like, I want you to do something sound like that, but not too much alike so we don't get into copyright problems. So it's a lot of really practical process. But I did get to compose with some really amazing director, and we formed a really trusty relationship. And that made me feel like, oh, actually it can be more intertwined process. Sometimes they even come to me just with a script, say, hey, can you start thinking about the melody of this? And in that case, the music has more power that actually might even affect how they shoot, because they already have that music stuck in their head. But it depends on luck and how much of trust you are within the person. And I was quite a young girl back then. I feel maybe it's a gender thing as well, that they tend to want me to prove more to gain their trust, then immediately grab me the trust. So I've done a film scoring for a couple of years, and a little bit of video game scoring, but not as much because I don't really do sound design. And in general, a lot of video game people, they want you to just do the sound as a package deal. So I've been doing that, and I got really into VR like a year ago. So I think I really want to do something in VR to create this kind of interactive sound and visual power. And I don't know how many of you here try VR. I know you have. Any of you have some experience? Yes.
I do work.
Oh, really? Amazing. So I love VR, and I see the potential of how these can really make music more interactive. So now I'm creating this, like developing this new app called Symphony. So basically it's in a mixed reality, because I know from reality to the whole virtual reality, it's a big jump. And I think a lot of my friends, even though I'm like missionary on VR, I will let everybody come to my home and try it. But for people to actually get a headset to want to be immersive in this virtual reality, even I thought it's very powerful, but it's also quite antisocial. So I think for a lot of people, they are a bit scared to make this leap. So I thought if I design something mixed reality, while they can see through, and they don't use controllers, so I designed something that's in hand tracking, so it's more natural for them. They feel like, oh, I'm still myself, I'm still in my environment. And what I do, it's quite simple, is you create shapes, and I assign already pre-designed sound into each shapes, and through shapes they can touch and make their own music. So far, a lot of the music games or apps in VR is all about how accurate can you do things. Like, can you do on the beat? Can you play this melody exactly as how it is? So a lot is about, you need to be good at the game. And for me, as a composer, I really believe people can create. So I I'm developing this app, hoping that people can feel like, oh, actually there's no right or wrong things to touch. Not everything, you're in the safe environment. And whatever you touch is gonna be beautiful, it's gonna make sense. And here I'm gonna share a little video about the idea. Hi, I'm Kino, the founder of Zenphony. Zenphony is an app that allows the user to manipulate shape and sound to create their own music in the mixed reality space. As an artist, I'm fascinated to see what virtual reality and mixed reality can bring to the world. You don't have to learn instrument to create your own music. In Zenphony, all the sound is pre-designed to be soothing, relaxing, and in harmony. All you need to do is to touch the crystals of your choice, place them the place you want, and have a dance in your room. In the future, you will be able to export the audio from Zenphony. What we're still developing it, and I want it to be as natural as possible. So now we are making it, if you can make the crystal bigger and smaller, you will go like lower octave, higher octave, and eventually you want something that you can go by like doing these kind of shapes. But I'm not a developer myself, I'm the idea person. I'll be like, let's do this and that, let's do. So they will tell me how much it's possible and what's the technical difficulty to do it. But I want you guys to also share about some of the idea that how sound moves you and what you can bring sound and music and visual going to the next level. So a lot of people actually, they come to me, what they want to do is learn their favorite song or whatever. But nowadays, since I don't think people can put as much effort as back then when you have a tiger grandma. So I think a lot of people, they just want to be able to play a melody or a melody with a harmony easily. So this kind of interactive sound system will help them to. They don't have to learn how to do the basic skill, and they can have this. But they also make the actual musician much more valuable because we are the actual ones can create sounds, and we know the music theory. Because I know the music theory, so I can design, it will sound good. But a lot of my students, they don't want to learn the music theory to know why do I play wrong, or why does it sound bad. They just want to play the right thing in a way. So yeah, I'm trying to be creative about what sound can do, combine the technology. Yeah, I think a lot of my students definitely stop learning because they don't sound good. Yeah. I mean, other than piano, a lot of instruments, they don't sound good for a while. Like a violin or like any instrument actually, that is not just press the key and you will make a good sound. And so I think a lot of them really give up too soon because they don't know actually what music can sound like.
But also it's an enormous opportunity for anyone who likes to dance and music.
Enough, yes, for people that's willing to give a shot. And because I love talking about music theory, then eventually we can design this thing. It's just pentatonic, and and we can talk about why it's pentatonic and why does this scale remind you about this culture. and what's melody, what's harmony. And I think once they have the tool to like access to, then I can then force my nerdy part to the audience. Like, you gotta take this knowledge to be able to understand what you're doing here. So it's all about bridging. And I think it's, for me, I've done a lot of thinking because I teach a lot. And I don't want to just, teach for them to have a result, but I want to also get something out of it. Like, I want to teach the thing I love. I force my student to compose with me. And yeah, so this kind of thing, I keep thinking. So we're still testing the product to make it as friendly as like my boyfriend can also play, because he's not a musician at all. So he told me like, oh, this actually he feel quite rewarding. He feel, even though he's not a musician, but he's making some good sounds. Yeah, so that's the new project I'm working on, and you're welcome to, Yeah, so you have any question, you can ask me afterwards. And now we're going to have a bridge to the next section as well. We're going to bridge into talking about more like not just about music, but more in general about unfinished idea, or haven't started idea, or that's fine. Or about unused ideas. And I will share my personal experience, but this one will want everybody to both talk about, or how to find motivation to finish your project, or you have some side idea, you don't know where to go, and maybe we can help you brainstorm together. So Offcuts is my recent album, and it's a mini album, just have 8 tracks on it. And it's called Offcuts because, like I said, I'm a film composer, but a lot of time you don't get to publish your music. And a lot of time your music is not publishing at all, because it depends on production company if they are going to release a soundtrack album or not. So that means I might be putting hours and hours of work into this feature film, but none of my music can be heard by any of my friends and family. And so I was thinking, what can I do with all those unused tracks? Not the ones that's being tied to the film into its release, but all the earlier ones that I put a lot of work into, but being rejected or being modified so much that it doesn't sound like the actual published track anymore. So I collect those offcuts together and create this mini album just called Offcuts. And that was one of the way that I feel better about those efforts that not being wasted, but actually can become some little project itself. So any of you can share about you have some ongoing project or unfinished project on the side at the moment?
How many years did those offcuts stay in a folder, or what made you decide that now is the time to release them?
Well, because I try to release an album every year on my birthday month. So I normally do a piano solo album of like 25 mini songs. I create short, and because I like the process of creating, and I don't like as much as I'm no patient to do like long track for my own projects. But if today I'm composing for a film, that's a different deal. That's composed for purpose, that's fine. But for me, I like short little pieces, like a lot of classical music that are like really nice and quite different. And this year, because I was working on the musical, and I really want the musical to be out, and it wasn't out, I was quite upset because my writer is kind of slow, but he's very talented, very slow, so now I'm becoming like a manager / composer and really hoping it's out. So I still want to publish something. And my next album for a musical is kind of like a certain musical for my piano is halfway around, and I feel like it's not the time to publish it because it's about like a certain period of my past, and I need to kind of have time to like see it and say make it nice. So I was like, well, a lot of like scoring. I never, even I've been composing for films for many years, but I never had a scoring album because I'm not allowed to publish my tracks. So I was like, well, that's a bit unfair. I really want to have a scoring album out there, so at least, even though now I don't do much scoring anymore, but I still want something to like but this song is not part of my album.
Yes.
So I still want something for me to like show I'm a film composer that presents that part of me, not just like the piano composer. So I started collecting the tracks, and that should be like, I would say maybe 4 or 5 years. And actually one of the tracks in the song actually was published with the film, but I talked to the director and he was quite nice. He said, yes, actually he has the right, but he's really happy for me to publish it. And all the other tracks that are just really offcuts. I mean, first track is from my own film. I used to make experimental film with the abstract image and that, so that was easy. And all the other tracks is just really offcuts, and I even forget about some of them. And I went back to folder of each like film I've done. I went to the very early folder, and I click the idea I sent to them, the first big ideas, and just many of them being saved now. I said, no, this idea is actually great. I'm going to publish in my album. So that's how it started. Yeah, and that's how I like finish idea. I just force myself to release by my birthday month. So
Deadlines.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you need to be your man. You need to play a trick with yourself. You know, you need to know how you work or how other artists you collaborate work, and make sure that you can trigger and make the best outcome out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we already talked about
Yeah,
this.
I think we already got to this part. Yes.
Basically, the floor is yours, guys. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for
No,
coming
it's
today.
okay. Yeah.
If you have drinks now, check. Thank you. And one last thing, I have to say this because I need to get some feedback from you guys. So the thing is, if you want to co-host the next one, just come talk to me. If you want to be in our arsenal list as a creator, just come talk with me. Because we're putting in our website, you can see all of the freelancers. So we're not presenting them, we're just promoting them. And we like to work with people we like, basically. So.